humanity, and the earth. For a time immemorial we have been together, spiraling through the cosmos on our inseparable journeys of growth and expansion. And now as we approach the completion of another great cycle and the turning of an age, as the quickening intensifies and all that we once knew comes into question, humanity begins its entry into the time of revelations. For we are living in a period of tremendous change, where humanity's truths are shifting with exponential rapidity as today's more advanced technologies and awareness are working to reveal the new truths of tomorrow. And just as the perspectives of those who were born 50 or 100 years ago have had to shift to allow for our present version of reality, so too will we be invited to expand our perspectives of what is possible, to allow for the unfathomable changes that will come with the turning of the age and the birth of a new world. Thus it is our intention with this presentation not to tell you of the way things are, for we as unenlightened beings are incapable of knowing the truths that lie beyond our limited dualistic perspective. And so, aware of our limitations, it is our intention herein to merely present some insights that might serve to expand people's perspectives and create room for new possibilities of what could be. For in these shifting times, to know anything is to block the potential for further realizations. In the same way that a glass already full will not allow for more wine, and just as holding on to our limited perspectives of truth, spirituality, and service will keep us from seeing the dawning light of the new world which is currently beyond our comprehension. That said, the perspectives presented herein are not randomly imagined, but rather have been carefully compiled through the meticulous research and reflection upon ancient Gnostic and Taoist texts, as well as an analysis of current events and recognized trends in our global theater. We have said before that the time has come and that the revolution has begun. And now, with the passage of time and the willingness to learn, we stand in the light of our expanded awareness to see that the earth does not require a revolution on the part of humanity, but rather she is lovingly urging our evolution, an evolution that awaits all those who are willing to humble themselves and let go of what they know. For it is only in letting go that one may become open like a child and receive the grace of world-altering revelations. One such revelation may come by considering the subtle dangers of duality that are prevalent within the world's increasingly popular movement towards spirituality, as well as its traditional religious institutions. The sole purpose of all human life is to ascend, to achieve liberation from matter, from ignorance, suffering, and from the wheel of birth and death. Yet today, most of humanity is kept from liberation because it is attached to the illusion of separation that has firmly established itself as a paradigm here on Earth. In every moment, this illusion is reflected back to us in the form of various pairs of opposites that also appear to be separate from one another, such as good and evil, right and wrong, friend and foe. Yet each moment we invest ourselves in this illusion of duality. By choosing one of these opposites over the other, we serve to fortify and so perpetuate the world of separation into which we have been born. And as long as we continue to feed this dualistic existence, we will never be able to transcend it. For in this world of duality, the truth that energy follows thought ensures that goodness and evil keep one another alive. This occurs because each time we choose sides on an issue, one aspect is strengthened by our attraction to it, while the other is strengthened by our aversion. Therefore, by choosing sides, which to an unenlightened perception may seem to only empower one aspect of an issue, in fact serves to strengthen both. And thus we may see the very real danger prevalent in today's rising spiritual movement and traditional religions, where many well-intentioned people are focusing on doing good in the world and offering service to others. However, in doing so, many are invoking the ego's sense of doing good, while simultaneously perceiving others to be doing bad, which then fuels the dualistic illusion and indirectly arouses evil. This is why the Buddha taught his disciples to walk the middle path between all pairs of opposites, and why the initiate Paul in the New Testament wrote, "Each time I try to do good, I end up doing evil." Service to others can be a dualistic trap for the limited human mind. It is one of the most difficult snares to recognize because it seems so reasonably loving and selfless. However, divinity does not serve others in the very personal way that humanity thinks. Divinity, once contacted, radiates out in all directions, blessing all alike, for all are one. And here one may understand that true, effective spiritual service is the natural outpouring of love and wisdom from the divinely aligned heart and mind. It is not something that can be planned or achieved by personal will, but rather it is a state of grace where all is seen to have a purpose and a place for which to be thankful and loving. Thus it is through this realization that all of the world's perceived good and evil are serving the divine by providing the opportunity to seek and find truth, that we may realize that we are all truly one. And it is this unified vision of existence that the Bodhisattva Isa was urging his disciples to seek when he said, "When thine eye be single, thy whole body is filled with light." All around the world, there are various groups and gurus within the rising spiritual movement who are testifying that in these shifting times, all we need to do is love. Though this is well and true, a problem arises when this message is delivered to a population whose understanding of love is unenlightened, and therefore dualistic, self-centered, and so often sentimental. For today, there are many well-meaning individuals and organizations in existence where people sit and attempt to send out loving thoughts and energies in order to elevate humankind, to protect it from harm, to put an end to wars, to ring in an era of peace on earth, and even to circumvent the forthcoming necessary geological upheavals. But in reality, human love has never liberated the world, and nor can it ever, for it is only divine love that is capable of providing liberation. The vast majority of New Age and so-called spiritual teachings, channelings, and meditations encourage people to use their personal will to create change within and for themselves, and sometimes for the world as well. Their focus is on personal transformation, as in create your own reality. But by encouraging people to focus upon themselves and the world, and use their personal will to support what they like and change what they don't like, these groups and teachers only serve to feed the illusion of duality. In fact, these spiritual practitioners and so-called masters are actually participating in something even more detrimental than those who are occultly unaware. For by inciting people to polarize themselves en masse towards peace, goodness, light, and love, these well-intentioned but misguided groups are actually synergetically strengthening and empowering the violence, evil, darkness, and hate on the opposite end of the spectrum at a global level, thereby unwittingly exacerbating the already chaotic and desperate condition of this planet. Thus we may see how the road to hell is paved with good intentions, as these well-meaning individuals are leading the masses astray and thereby incurring further karma for themselves and encouraging others whom they attract to their cause to do the same. Such groups are making the pendulum of the polarized illusion swing further and more dramatically from one side to the other, effectively producing more and more dualistic power, momentum, and tension in the world, all of which is actually helping to hasten our planet toward the cataclysmic events that will result as all over the world people align themselves behind the rising forces of light and dark and prepare to strive, struggle, or even fight to make others live according to what they believe is right. We have been warned that in these shifting times, many false prophets will arise and deceive many people. and thus considering the tremendous amount of confusion coming from within the spiritual and New Age movements and their leaders, we would say that before looking outwards for direction in these shifting times, one would be well advised to first look inwards and seek the truths that will keep them from being so easily led astray. For there is one mission for each and every life form, one single goal and purpose, and that is to seek the truth and so be free. Thus it is through the humble and selfless seeking of truth that one may open their heart to the one life in all, and thus be free from the illusion of separation, along with the ego's attachment to what it perceives as right and wrong in the world. Free from such attachments, one is liberated from their desire to change the world according to their personal will, for they see that all is perfect as it is, as reflected in the words of the Taoist sage dotSUB, who said, "The world is sacred, it can't be improved." Thus it is with this understanding that one learns to relinquish my will for thy will, that is, the divine will. And it is with this prudent focus that one begins the process of being initiated into true spirituality, and so becomes both a recipient and a servant of the liberating truth. For it is our selfishness and our ignorant use of free will that has brought us collectively into our present state of existence. Therefore, perhaps it is only by a 180-degree reversal, through selflessness, through the complete and utter surrender of ourselves and our personal will to the divine will of the Tao, that we may allow the forces of true change and redemption to work through us and liberate us completely from the unholy illusion of this world. And here it is essential to consider that one of the greatest obstacles, if not the greatest obstacle, that stands in the way of real spiritual unfoldment and realization is an absence of humility and the honest admission as to how little the separate self really and truly knows of the higher life, its purpose, goal, and the inevitable result for the end of this major world cycle. Also consider that any thoughts of "I am a teacher," or "I can heal others," or "I know the way home and can therefore lead others," actually prevents the Divine Spirit from working through us. Because I is not the Divine Spirit. It is at best a temporal vehicle and agent of the one life, as are all separative entities. We then, at best, can only offer others a very distorted version of the truth. And this is why it has been said that all who wish to return to truth and so partake again of the original freedom must first become like a babe, both humble and empty of self, for it is only in the state of childlike openness that we may be filled with the living light of truth. And because an empty cup does not contain anything, it does not therefore proclaim to know anything, for all true knowing comes from the divine. Thus, allowing the light of truth to enter one's emptied cup is to become aware of the divine will. And it is thus that the calling to assist in the manifestation of the divine plan for these important times on earth is registered by the seeker, and consecrated service to that plan then becomes natural and spontaneous. This is the beginning of freedom, and the seeker of truth is then initiated into life's mysteries and is given progressively greater spiritual responsibility. And it is in receiving and then offering what is received that one becomes the humble servant of all, proceeding forth not by efforts of self-will, but by the providence of divine grace. To many who are sensing the quickening on earth today, it is becoming clear that two world perspectives are now rising, in contrast of one another. And this inevitable division, which has and will always occur in the cycle of humanity's evolution, has been called by the prophets the time of the Great Separation, or the sifting time. This sifting time not only includes the division of souls, but of all life and all energy on earth into two vibrational fields. And for all those who are awakening to this reality, it is now becoming quite obvious that humanity shall, very soon, be required to make a distinct choice of which perspective we choose to embrace. For we have today arrived at the crossroads, and the time of reckoning, and the choice that remains to humanity is, will we continue to live for and exalt the self, and therefore bind ourselves to this world's illusion of separation and duality? Or will we choose to move on to the new world and its lessons by surrendering ourselves in service to the divine will and awakening to our oneness and equality with all. Though our age-old programming and dualistic perceptions of this division will cause many to perceive this as the separation of good and evil, or heaven and hell, it is more accurate to consider this as an opportunity, where those who have had enough of the lessons that are made available in the present dualistic world choose to let go of their attachments to it, and those who still wish to explore the lessons of the self, the material and the struggle of opposites, are free to do so until such a time that they wish to explore lessons of another reality. Hence, the suggestion of this division need not arouse fear or pride, as it is all to be a matter of a person's choice of where they wish to be, to do the appropriate learning in service of the divine. And in keeping with the cyclic nature of our universe, if the choice to move on to other lessons does not seem prudent during the closing of this Earth cycle, the choice will come again either on Earth or some other planet at some other time. That said, the Great Separation is indeed intensifying in the world today, as approaching high vibrational cosmic rays are pushing all unresolved karma and darkness to the surface from within each one of us, thereby giving us the opportunity to heal our dualistic perspectives of light and dark in relation to ourselves and the world. And like a cancer in the body, the disease of the world will continue to rise and become increasingly intense until we stop running from the darkness, face it, and learn what lessons it has to reveal. For it is a dangerous and most erroneous belief amongst many in today's spiritual and New Age movements that all we need to do is focus on the positives, such as if we concentrate on the light, we will see the light, and if we focus on the dark, we will see the dark. But what so few people understand today is that it is not what we focus upon or not that matters, so much as the why. And if we honestly examine why we avoid looking at the shadow side of life, then most will find that it is because we are in denial and therefore fearful of it. And it is in fact the energetic charge of our fear that is partially responsible for keeping the darkness so very alive in our world today. Thus, supporting the phrase that it is always darkest before the dawn, we shall find that life on Earth is and will continue to become more challenging in the months and years approaching the shift, as the darkness which has been ignored or denied for so long surfaces with a strength that demands our recognition and reconciliation. One of the most common misconceptions that has been woven into the very fabric of our reality through the world's religions, governments, and global media is the belief in an epic final battle between the forces of good and evil known to many as Armageddon. All across the planet, a total of nearly 3 billion Christians, Muslims, and Jews await the prophesied return of the Messiah, or Mahdi, who it is believed will lead the righteous in a battle against the opposing forces of evil, which it is believed will be led by the Antichrist. Though it is possible that there will be an epic global conflict as tensions rise on the world stage and people align themselves behind their governments and their gods, what most people don't understand is that the real Armageddon is a battle that can only be won inside each one of us and not on a battlefield. For one of the greatest secrets of our time is that the Antichrist is not a single evil person, but rather it is that dualistic and divided consciousness that separates us from each other and divinity. And it is by continually looking out to the world for an enemy or threat, rather than looking inside ourselves, that humanity is kept from seeing and therefore healing the true danger of its ignorance and duality. And thus the existing cycle of suffering and separation is perpetuated. This inner victory will be won by those who, through a selfless attitude and a humble yearning for the truth in which there is no separation, open their hearts to the one life in all, and so relinquish their personal will and desire to change the world so that they may surrender themselves to the humble service of the divine will. And it is for this reason that authentic spiritual practices such as Buddhism, Taoism, yoga, and certain native spiritual traditions teach us to be aware and equanimous with the way things are. And thus, as the dramatic yet divinely orchestrated world events peak, the prophesied event of the return will cause the realities of the two contrasting world perspectives to separate, thus sounding that the time has come for humanity to make its choice.
I am ready for the next step in humanity's evolution.
And now we must seek to unite with others.
The time has come to live for each other.